Hello, this is High Templar with a new episode of my Total War Warhammer Mechanics videos, and today we'll be talking about Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. So this is one of the new units that we are getting with the King and the Warlord DLC, and those guys are light cavalry that is supposed to be good against anti-infantry, vanguard deployment, poison attack. So anti-infantry, let's just test them against, firstly against swordsmen, and let's later on talk about their stats and comparisons and other stuff. So just allow them to jump into Swordsman decided not to charge back, which will be very bad for them, obviously. But as you can see here, there is lots of swordsman losses here after this initial charge. And for the Squigs, that was a pretty bad charge, right, this one. But as you can see, it was good enough to absolutely destroy this unit of swords. After the second charge, they are wavering. And gone. And this is the end. So 5 Squig Hoppers killed by the swordsman, 77 swords, basically entire unit wiped out by Squig Hoppers. Very nice results. Let's look at the actual stats of the units and compare them to some. Firstly, let's compare it to Squig Herds. So those guys have 5000 health, well, 4900 really, 600 more than the Squig Herds, which is surprising because, you know, there are more of them, like 40 to 60, and they have also Night Goblins, so they should have significantly more than 600 more. They have 25 less armor, because, you know, Squigs are slightly armored, and the Squig Hoppers are not. Their leadership is 50, so significantly more. And the speed is also significantly more, which is surprising. Yeah, I do get that those Squigs were armored, but Night Goblin should weigh a whole lot than a bit of armor, so weird. They do have melee attack of 22, but it is poison. They do have melee defense of 22, so slightly more than Squig Herds. They do have weapon strength of 27, which is it's not armor piercing, and at the same time, only 6 armor piercing, only 9 bonus versus infantry, and only 30 charge bonus. So they seem to be a lot worse, but you have to pay more for them, which is a bit weird. At the same time, those guys have immune to psychology, which is nice touch. But the Squig Herds also have immune to psychology, and Squig goes wild, which is amazing if you can use it correctly. So strange little creatures here, those Squig Hoppers. Seem they are a lot worse than Squig Herds, really. If you compare Squig Herds to another light cav like Bretonnian Yeoman, so let's do that. They have 15 less armor, they have slightly more leadership, which is surprising because, you know, goblins. They have a bit less speed and similar attack, less defense, slightly more weapon strength, and obviously Yeomen do not have bonus versus infantry and more of charge bonus. So they do seem to stack up very well against mounted Yeomen, but mounted Yeomen also have shields. But in general, very similar unit, and this one also causes poison. 100 cost more, I do believe superior in every way to the mounted Yeoman, really. I mean, with the poison and everything, it is really a good unit. But is it large? Let's make a quick test and put them against spearmen. You've seen this two chargers against swordsmen, and that actually wiped out the unit of swords. And those guys were bracing before the impact. Let's see how the unit of lowly spearmen, I mean those guys are not lowly, those guys are Empire spearmen, pretty good spearmen. I do use narrow formation in here because I don't want to wrap around and get my guys caught in the unit of spearmen. Believe me, that is really for the best. And now charging. They seem to be pretty small. The spearmen decided to put their backs into those guys. But as you can see, the charge didn't do that much. We're able to retreat from the fight pretty nicely. 59 kills. I mean 59 of those guys are still alive. I decided to move slightly more away to get a better charge than last time. And then charging into the running unit. So this is very bad for spearmen. No bracing, no anything. And now they are wrapped around with my units of squigs, which are winning. This is not winning slightly, this is winning. And you can see the spearmen are melting away very quickly. But right now it's in the even combat, which is strange because Night Goblin Hopper is still showing as winning. Spearmen are starting to waver, but go back with leadership. And yeah, it's Squig Hoppers are starting to be more and more winded, where those guys are only active. Still 60 spearmen alive. And not surprisingly, fight goes to the spearmen, which would confirm that the squigs are actually large, because those spearmen would lose very, very badly if that would be otherwise. But you won't be using Squig Hoppers against your standard humans. You would be using them against dwarves. And you've seen my test with Squig Hoppers against Thunderers, where when I put my Squig Hoppers on the edge of Thunderers, attack them, and those guys run away, basically because of such a low morale. Now Squig Hoppers are both faster and have much larger morale, so even though they are being fired upon by Thunderers, smaller armor doesn't really change anything. Those guys are mostly armor piercing, and charge straight into those guys, Thunderers. And Thunderers are melting away very fast. Single charge, pretty much no. Only three Squig Hoppers were killed. Quite some health, but only 3 Squig Hoppers were actually killed. So, yeah. But that was Thunderers. Let's see how those guys are behaving against something more, shall we say, substantial. So this is Longbeards. Longbeards cost pretty much the same as Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. And since this is, cav units, they should be pretty good against, infantry. However, Longbeards do have high armor. Those guys are not armor piercing. And they do have defense versus large. They braced. And on the impact, pretty much nothing happened to them. Those guys are losing decisively. Maybe they didn't brace, actually, because they are losing. And that must only be explained by the charge bonus. But after some time, it's even combat, and Squig Hoppers obviously has a lot less health and a lot worse stats. Even if they are poisoning, still those stats will be like, the difference is crazy. Like 30 attack and 47 the defense with still 25 weapon strength, whereas those guys have 22, 22 and 27. I know, plus 9, but still pretty big of a difference, and it is quite obvious that if you don't cycle charge, the morale of Longbeards will break the Squig Hoppers very nicely, and that's the end. Although they did melt away more than half of the Longbeard's health, so maybe there is something we can use them against, right? I mean, they are anti-infantry, maybe we can do something good with cycle charging. So I have two different cycle charging options here. Firstly is your standard stay there for 10 seconds and do a white formation to basically kill as many of those guys as possible. And charged, wrapped around Longbeards, dealing significantly more damage on the charge than before, and obviously winning, and after 10 seconds breaking. However, many of those guys were trapped inside the unit of Longbeards. Even though I cycle charge right away, not every unit, and now Longbeards are winning slightly because of those guys getting trapped, and those guys didn't get a good charge. Now I'm running away because most of those guys in the back are actually dead. Cycle charging again with white formation. This time we've made an impact. But as you might imagine, even if those guys are losing, there is not that much we can do. And some of the, as you can see, 10-second charges here. And that's the end. So in the final results, like lots of Longbeards, even though they lost 2/3 of health, lots of Longbeards are still alive. Only 30 died. So that is not particularly good results. Let's say if we can make a better cycle charging. So staying for shorter amount of time, doing this impact damage, not allowing the Longbeards to get back on their feet after them being thrown away, and not allowing to wrap around that much. So more narrow formation as before with spears basically. And let's see what will happen right now. Those guys are standing. They are still getting impact damage, but that should negate and getting back straight away. Some losses here and some losses there, maybe more on Longbeards. Now it seems that the gap is widening here, you can see. I did lose one Squig, but those guys lost more health. And now the gap is widening. As you can see, percentage-wise, those guys lost a lot more health than those guys. And more mana at this point. And they are running to me. I'm getting some wrapping, staying for a bit longer. But it doesn't seem to be doing any good. Staying for longer, as you can see, is pretty bad. It get my guys die. Trying to kite them, they are actually running, trying to waver them down. So where the previous cycle charging actually did something to them, staying longer obviously is getting my guys killed. However, you cannot really cycle charge there and back all the way like I did in the first five tries or so. Now I'm doing the final push with wrapping to make them most damage. And as you can see, there was quite some damage. Those guys were barely 1/10 of the health, but not much more kills, unfortunately. If we did this cycle charging perfectly, like in the beginning, we might have been able to beat the Longbeards. However, the morale might still be going their way, unfortunately. So Longbeards, not really something you want to go against with Squig Hoppers. So, what about different guys? I mean, Squig Hoppers are non-armor piercing, maybe they will good against gore. 650 to 600 unit, and the gores are, well, the gores are pretty awesome actually. But they should be weak against this kind of engagement. Especially because those guys don't have large charge bonus of 24, but the computer AI cannot ever do full use of that charge bonus. And they stopped just before. And they seem that they lost the general of the charge, which would make this fight even worse. However, as you can see, yeah, the combat was even at some point. And that's pretty much means you need to run away and cycle charge. And now we're getting very nice charge into those gores and killing them. However, look on the losses on those Squig Hoppers. That is quite significant. 19 kills and half of the health gone. So I might have actually test from the other side. I know I did the test from the other side. It's not here unfortunately. But if I did the charge myself with the gores, they actually annihilated Squig Hoppers pretty fast. So that is very unfortunate indeed. Let's match them against halberds. Halberds are your typical anti-cav unit. But there is a snag here. They have to be actually braced and positioned pretty well. What if we can, round around that problem, basically? This is what AI would try to do, and right now I charge into this unit from the back into those halberds, and I'm winning decisively, now winning only. Those guys have significant bonus versus large and armor piercing. I know, armor only 25, but still an armor. So staying for some time and then attacking, then retreating. Again, trying to make them run. Attacking them from the side. That actually was a very bad charge and I was losing, so I had to retreat from it earlier. Yeah, trying to get a nice charge into those guys. That was close defeat. That was actually, if you were very, very good at micro, you might possibly be able to do that. And obviously on the battlefield, if you get your enemy distracted and charge in the back and cycle charge it pretty well, you will be able to defeat those halberds. Much better results than longbeards, but then again, you probably won't be fighting with Squig Hoppers against Empire that often. So let's try another unit that those guys might be effective against. These are the Regiments of Renown, the Königstein Stalkers. The cost is similar. And, well, obviously those guys are lightly armored, but they don't run much. So that will be an issue for the Squig Hoppers. Squig Hoppers on themselves, on their part, are immune to psychology. So let's just see how those guys will. They try to run away, and that went pretty badly for it. Pretty devastating charge already losing lots of leadership, going into wavering, but I will have to retreat from this. There is no wrapping because I used the proper formation width, and those guys are running, still going on leadership 18, only now going back to some, decent sizes, and now catching those skeletons pretty much unaware, wrapping around them. Now the morale is dropping very fast, already crumbling, and now just wait until they crumble to dust, pretty much. Pretty nice results on all light infantry you would find, those guys. Although obviously those guys are not as good as Squig Herds, they are pretty decent against light, infantry. How they would do against the Graveguards, though? Obviously Graveguards are very heavy infantry, they cannot run away, should be decisively very bad for the Squig Hoppers. However, those Graveguards don't have that high stats, they rely on their bonus versus infantry, however they do have large damage. So again, I'm trying to run around them and then cycle charge them, and this is, look at the cycle charge, this actually did pretty much the same damage to the Squig Hoppers than the Graveguards. Unfortunately 7 Squig Hoppers dead here and only 1 Graveguard here. So health wise this charge is pretty devastating for the Graveguards, but during the withdrawal, and now we can't withdraw because we are tight with those guys, when some of the fighters died, I withdrew and I did another charge. And yeah, those guys run because of morale. I mean, they will shortly. Trying to make them tired and trying to make a good charge into them. Surprisingly good result against the Graveguard. Surprisingly good. This shouldn't be as good. I mean, not by a long shot. Similar results to Longbeards. But yeah, we already knew that the Longbeards perform very, very well and they have good armor and such. What will happen, however, if you actually will find yourself fighting cavalry units, which you might, have to be fighting? Those guys have bonus versus infantry. So, not so good against mounted yeomen? Well, they do have significantly better stats and poison. Now I'm actually using mounted yeomen to get a best of charges because AI would lose pretty badly. But still, if you will look at that, this poison makes them not really that effective, and at the same time those guys have still pretty nice charge bonus and still pretty nice weapon strength compared to, those guys. And the stats are not that impressive, so the mounted yeoman actually breaks and lose. Interesting, but this is a cheaper unit, so not that surprising. However, what will happen if we would put those guys against Knights of Blazing Sun? And to level that fight, I obviously have to put 2 Squig Hopper units against 1 Knight of the Blazing Sun. And we are expecting from this fight that those guys will do very, very poorly because, firstly the charge bonus, secondly the armor of the knights, thirdly bonus versus infantry on the Squig Hoppers won't help them that much, and finally, low armor on the Squig Hoppers. Those guys are non-armor piercing unit. Initial charge not so bad, but as the fight goes on, as you can see, pretty devastating for the Squig Hoppers. Charge in the back made it made the fight, well, good for some time, but now they are losing also. Yeah, that wasn't a very good fight, was it? They lost more than half of the health, but not many men actually. Very unfortunate. And that's pretty much it. This is all the scenarios that I thought of. You might bring me some others if you want to. I might play them. I just feel that those guys are solid light cav, but light cav are very much inferior to heavy cav in this moment. So Squig Hoppers are really just a better option in almost any case, except for assaulting range units from afar, which then bringing Squig Hoppers is pretty bad idea, because those guys will break before the fight even starts. So yeah, that's pretty much it about it. I hope you like it. If you did, press like, comment if you will, and see my other videos, my mechanics videos and my DLC analysis and speculation videos for Total War series, but also my Let's Plays in Total War series and other games. Thank you for watching, and see you later.